Evening, everybody.
All right. Patrick is somewhere over in the ether sphere, and hopefully he will be able to connect with us soon. Outside of Patrick, does everybody on the town council have access?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Does anybody not have access? Good. We're going to have a couple of things. Hopefully we'll run this meeting very quickly. I will say that Barbara will be asking you to state your name, and we'll call your name and ask you for your vote whenever we do a roll call vote. So that's part of what we're going to be doing today. All right. The first thing we have is the Mr. Bennett, we went through all this, and is the next thing that we do is that as the Director of Emergency Management for the town of Washington, I need to declare an emergency based upon the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected our community and our country. Do the town council members agree with this declaration of an emergency? And I will need to do a roll call vote. Barbara, you ready? Barbara? Is Barbara there, Gail?
Yes. Mr. Catlin, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Ms. Kuhn?
Aye.
Ms. Swift?
I have volume now.
Oh, good, Patrick.
Oh, yeah, I've been here all along. I'll call you back. But technical difficulties.
It's all right. You've got a nice orange glaze around you right now. So
Well, maybe that's better than reality.
All right, we're in the middle of a roll call to agree that with the declaration of emergency. So go ahead with your roll call, Barbara.
Hey, Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Whited?
Yes.
And Mr. Oh, no, that never. Good. Sorry.
All right. Mr. Bennett.
So, this is a meeting held in accordance with the provisions of section 44-146.17 of the Virginia Code, the governor having declared an emergency, the director of emergency services having declared an emergency, which was concurred in by the town council, and now the electronic meeting is formally convened to address business related or arising from the emergency.
All right. Thank you, sir. That means we're legit. So at this point, we have an agenda before us. Are there any, before we do an approval of the agenda, are there any additions or corrections or deletions for the agenda? Hearing none.
I just have one question.
Yep.
This is Mary Ann. Do we need to formally call the meeting to order at a certain time?
Oh, I was doing that at the very beginning. I apologize. By asking if everyone had access, that was in fact implying the call to order. But thank you. I'll try to remember to be.
I mean, usually we say the meeting was called to order at 7:05 or 7:01 or whatever.
That's exactly right. No, I apologize for that. We are all going through learning steps in this process.
That's okay.
So we have a roll call to approve the agenda. Ms. Batson, would you go ahead and call it?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Gail.
Thank you. Second? I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Catlin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn?
Aye.
Ms. Swift? Aye. Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Whited?
Aye. All right, good. Then continuing with the agenda, we have the minutes from the April 13, 2020 council meeting. Any changes, additions or deletions? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
That's Joe. Thank you. A second?
Gail, second.
All right. Roll call to approve the minutes. Ms. Batson?
Mr. Catlin?
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn?
Abstain.
Mr. Swift? I'm sorry, Ms. Swift? Aye. Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Whited?
Aye.
All right. Going on the reports, I have no mayor's report that is germane to the emergency situation with the town. So I turn it over to Ms. Swift for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. All should have a copy of the treasurer's report in front of you. I can speak for itself.
Gail, you're gonna have to move closer to the.
Oh. Sorry, Barbara and I are sharing a phone because we were getting so much feedback. You all have the current report in front of you. If anybody has any questions, it speaks for itself as to the month and the year to date.
No. All right.
You also have in front, should we do this separately and then the bills to be paid?
Now let's do it all at the same time, I think. Correct, Mr. Bennett? Can we do them all at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing unusual on the bills to be paid. You might notice that Joe Wank's check is a little higher than normal, but he has started mowing, as well as we had him remove the trash cans from around town that all of the local people, the residents, were using more frequently. So those are now in storage over at the wastewater plant.
Right.
Everything else is normal.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I so move.
Thank you. Joe Whitehead, a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Brad, thank you. Roll call, Ms. Batson?
Catlin?
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. White?
Aye.
All right. We are zooming. I may actually beat Ms. Kuhn on the length of this meeting. I may reset the record. The Planning Commission, Gail, I presume, had no meeting and therefore have no report pertaining to the emergency situation? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. The Architectural Review Board will have an in-person meeting on Wednesday at Town Hall at 7 o'clock. They have, I think, a couple of issues on their agenda. Mr. Bennett, anything more from you, sir?
No, just I'll speak on some of the agenda items.
Okay. Let's go to old business. I am happy to report that we received one application for the town council vacancy, and that was from Joan Platt, who has been a resident in the community for many years. And up until a few years ago, had been a regular attendee at town council meetings. And she has submitted a letter of interest and application for this vacancy. Are there any other nominations from members of the public or from the town council? If not, then I close the nominations, and I make a motion that we appoint Joan Platt as a member of the Town of Washington Town Council. Is there a second?
I second. This is
Gail Swift seconds. Roll call, Ms. Batson?
Mr. Catlin,
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn,
Aye.
Ms. Swift. Aye. Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Mr. Schneider,
Aye.
Mr. Whited.
Aye.
All right. I will let Joan know, and I am grateful that she will be able to join us. New business. We have a resolution that I believe was sent to you Friday of last week, authorizing the mayor to execute all necessary documentation for the deferral of the May and November wastewater treatment plant payments. Before we go on with this, I want to say one more time an expression of thanks to Gail Swift, but especially to Joe Whitehead for all of his work and helping us work this, and then to John Bennett for his work and making and crossing all the T's and dotting the I's. John, do you want to, how should we proceed? Should you read the resolution, or how should we do this?
I've sent it to all the council persons, and there was a blank as to the amount of the new payment. The attorney for Virginia Resources and we figured what the payment would be, but she wanted to verify it with both her clients, VR and DEQ. And the amount of the new payment will be, a year from now, May 1st, will be $98,605.89. That would have to be filled in the proposed resolution. There's no requirement that it be read, but essentially what it says is that the town accepts the offer of Virginia Resources and DEQ to defer the May 1st payment and the November 1st payment on the the wastewater collection system bond. And the payments will resume on May 1st, 2021 in the amount of $98,605.89, which represents taking the amount of those two payments that were not made and dividing them by 18, which are the remaining number of payments, and adding an equal amount to each payment. So the payment will stay constant over the remaining term of the bond.
Right. All
Since
right.
we pay no interest on it, there's in effect, no penalty to the town. It's an accommodation by Virginia Resources and DEQ, and it's a situation they're dealing with a whole lot of jurisdictions right now. So.
Sure they are. That's great. Well, I'm glad we were able to do it. Everyone has seen the resolution, and can we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
This is Gail. I make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented, adding in the amount that Mr. Bennett just mentioned of $98,605.89 for the next payments starting in April 1 of 2021.
Thank you. Or May, either April or May of 2021. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. Roll call vote, Ms. Batson?
Mr. Catlin,
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn,
Aye.
Ms. Swift. Aye. Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Mr. Schneider,
Aye.
Mr. Whited.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Two more items. The next is, we need to have the town council vote to authorize the expenditure of funds to advertise for the public hearing for the 2020-21 budget, to have an authorization of expenditure of up to $900 for said purpose. We'll need to have a motion to have that. I'll make the motion to authorize that expenditure. Do I have a second?
I second.
Is there any questions or discussion?
I have a question. Is that for one ad in the Rappahannock News?
Barbara, do you want to answer that?
No, this is the larger ad that goes into, I'm not sure exactly which paper it is. Darn it, I should have looked that up. It's not the one that goes in the Rap News. This is one higher up. I think it's called.
But why would we want to put it in a paper that was outside our jurisdiction? In other words, we're not required to do that, right? Only the Rappahannock News?
In fact, you're required to publish it in the paper of general circulation of the jurisdiction.
Which is the Rappahannock News, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we could do it for $75 instead of $800.
I agree. Why don't we do this? Do you know why? I presume we've done it in that other paper because that's what was done in the past, Barbara?
Yeah, that's been the way it's been done for the last 15 years.
All right. But John Bennett, you're saying that all we really need to do is just have it in the Rappahannock News.
Correct. I didn't know that it was in something beyond that. I remember looking at it a few years and reading it when the paper came out, but it's just Rappahannock News.
Okay. Then I don't think we need to worry about an additional. Do we need to do an authorization then, Barbara?
Did that last meeting?
Okay. So we're all set?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we don't yet know how much expenditure that will entail in the Rappahannock News, right? Can we put a cap on it of $100?
Why don't we be safe and say 150?
Okay.
Let's go ahead then. So we have a motion to authorize an expenditure for the public hearing of the budget of up to $150. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for that.
Or
you
it
save
may,
the town $700 at least.
well, I think I can save them more. Why don't we ask the Rappahannock News to publish it gratis? We're a town without an income.
Right.
In a period of crisis, and they're a community-minded newspaper. So I strongly suggest that we tell them we'd like the ad without payment.
Okay.
Ask them.
All right. We have a motion with an amendment. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brad. Roll call vote for those in favor. Barbara?
Mr. Catlin?
Aye.
Ms. Kuhn?
Aye.
Ms. Swift? Aye. Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Whited?
Aye.
All right. Last item that I had on the agenda, I wanted to bring up for the town council. I noticed that the Rappahannock County established an emergency ordinance at their May 4th meeting in which they went beyond the governor's restrictions and added an additional restriction for short-term rentals. And what I wanted to garner from members of the town council is that I think the town of Washington should, while recognizing that it has a close partnership with the county, that the town of Washington for its hotels and its restaurants will be following the guidelines established by the governor and in his executive orders, rather than what the county of Rappahannock, which is a separate jurisdiction, may do in their jurisdiction. And I wanted to get a feedback from other members of the town council on that. So I open it up for discussion. Does that make sense to what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Fred.
Then I think, is there any other discussion, any other thoughts? Brad, Gail, Marianne?
Gail, I think that if your thoughts, your comments about following the state makes the most sense. It's very specific, it's laid out, and there's no gray area from that point.
Right. All right. Well, I don't think that we need to make any kind of vote on this, but I did want to, as I said, get the feedback from members of the town council in that we will go ahead and follow the governor's guidelines on issues as they relate to both short-term rentals and to restaurants and other like establishments. All right. At this point, we don't have a public forum, but if there is anything that deals with the emergency situation or anything that deals with the necessary running of the town, I welcome the public for any comments that they might have on either of those issues. Nancy, Drew, do you have anything?
The water turn off tomorrow, do you think that it will be contained at Gay Street and Wheeler, or do you think it'll expand to the whole town?
Currently, right now, I'm sorry, this is Barbara.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, we only anticipate that it will be contained to Gay Street. But of course, as they get into it, if anything should happen, there is the possibility they may need to turn the water off to other parts of the town. But as of right now, it's just limited to that Gay Street section.
And Barbara, the hours for that are what?
They anticipate starting at 8 o'clock, and they think it'll take between 6 to 8 hours.
Oh,
Again, their best estimate.
If there is, Barbara, I assume that they will be in touch with you, or Brad, are you going to be kind of peeking into what they're doing, or they
I
just
can. I can over.
You don't need to. I mean, I think they're probably pretty self-contained, but Barbara, are they going to contact you if they do run into a problem?
Yes, and I'll also be stopping over there several times during the day just to check in and make sure everything's fine. But Craig will reach out to me should there be a problem.
Okay, and if there is, I assume that you will email all the residents of the town. And I noticed that in your notification that you sent us over the weekend that there was the boiling water requirement. Do you know whether that will be necessary and for how long?
It is necessary. I don't know the length of it yet. They have to get 2 clean samples before the boil alert is lifted. I have not heard back from Country Water yet on how quickly they take those samples, but as soon as I have that information, I will share it.
Okay. Would you go ahead, just because a lot of us need more than one reminder, would you send out a reminder tomorrow morning again to everyone, or this evening before, not that you have anything else to do, but at some point before the work begins, to let people, again, let residents know about the boiling water requirement?
Absolutely.
And also that certain areas will be shut down. So, good. That's it. Then I will, any other questions from the public? Yes, Drew.
Sorry, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then we will go ahead and close down the public forum. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connell. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. I think we can get away with a voice vote for the adjournment of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good evening.
well done.
We survived.
3 minutes.
Hi, Mary Ann.